Hi, welcome to Di's Home and Garden. Thanks for joining me. This is your first time here. What we do is crafts, gardening and cooking, and today we're sewing. So in my last video I made a pair of pants, I haven't quite finished them, for my grandson. So I'll just step back. They're a pair of long pants. They do look a little fancy. They're in his favourite fabric, which is Paw Patrol. That's his favourite thing at the moment. I'm just waiting for him to come and visit me, and then I'll get his waist measurement and I'll put the elastic in the waist. But while I was making that, I said, right, I'll make him a matching t-shirt. So I've got a lot of fabric here, so I'm just using what I've got. And I thought this matches quite well. So I'm making him a t-shirt with the yellow. And what I'm going to do with that is, excuse me for looking away, I'm just grabbing things over here. I'm going to be putting an applique onto the front of the t-shirt. So I chose a nice large design with the hot air balloon there, and because it's got the 3 characters in it, so that's why I chose that one. And I'm going to be appliquing this onto the front of the t-shirt before we actually construct the t-shirt. So come along with me while we do that. And a disclaimer here, I'm not a professional sewer, I'm self-taught. I used to go along to all the craft shows that they'd have and look at all the, they would do demonstrations, and I'd spend a whole day there and book in for as many classes as I could, so I'd watch people do things and also look at the products that were available and worked out how to do it myself. So I learnt to sew, self-taught, going back 40 years ago, no, even longer, long time ago now. But that was before the internet. So the techniques and that I've developed, obviously they were my own. I do use basic patterns. I'm just using a basic t-shirt pattern for this. It does have instructions on how to make a t-shirt in there. It doesn't have anything on applique though. So this is my way. There might be better ways. If you do it and know a better way, please put your comments there because I'd like to see them, and I'm sure other people would too. But anyway, let's get on with it. Now the first thing that I'm going to be doing, I'm using something called fabric stabilizer. So what it says on here is that it's reusable, shiny side irons on, ideal for all fabrics, prevents stretching and puckering. Now that's the main thing that I'm using this for. It tears away once the stitching is complete, ideal for easy no pin applique. So here we go. I've got a piece that I'm going to be putting on the back of the applique itself, and then I'm putting a piece on the inside of my garment because this is stretchy fabric and I don't want it to be stretching while I'm sewing the applique on. So I'll just go and iron those on and then we'll come back. So I've got my fabric there for the front, and that has the applique sewn to the back. Sorry, has the stabilizer ironed onto the back. I've ironed on the stabilizer to the back of that, and I'm just going to pin that in place. Now I've pinned the applique where I want it, and there are other ways of doing this. I was searching for a powder that I used to have, and you just sprinkle the powder on and then iron it, and it's a glue, and that's the easiest way. You just glue it on. And I also used to use, sometimes I'd use the spray on adhesive just to put it where I wanted it. Other times I had some actual glue that I would apply to the underside and glue it in place, but pinning it does the job just as well. Now what I'm going to do next, I've got a embroidery hoop here. I want to keep this stable as I'm sewing it, because what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be putting, well, it's the zigzag stitch, but it's really, really close, and it's going to be going all the way around the edge to adhere that. So let's, The embroidery hoop is a little bit big for what I'm doing, but it's the only one that I've got. So you just make do with what you've got, don't you? So let's get that on. There we go. I think I need to back that off a bit so that I can put it on. Okay, put it around the other way, make it easier. And let's try that again. There we go, it's on. Now I just want to make sure that it's pulled nice and tight. Okay. So I'm just pulling that tight all the way around where I can. There we go. And now I'll tighten the hoop up to make sure that that stays in place. Okay, now let's go over to the... Now, firstly, there's two things I need to do here. I need to work out what colour am I going to be using for the edging. Now, I've decided that I'm going to be using yellow. I could have gone with blue, but I'll just change my threads on my machine to the yellow. And then the next thing we need to do after I've done that is to do lots of tests to make sure that I've got the stitch pattern right. This is a new roll, so I'm looking for the beginning. Okay, let's come back. So, talking about the thread that I've just put on, first of all, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I prefer to use Gutermann sewing threads. They're a German sewing thread, and this is 100% polyester. Now, when you're doing applique, you can go all out and you can do all sorts of fancy things. I do have a lot of embroidery, machine embroidery thread there, which will give it, that's rayon, and it will give it a nice silky finish to it. But I don't really want it standing out too much, so therefore I'm using just the standard polyester, which is more of a dull thread. It doesn't have the shine on it that the embroidery thread has. Now, what I need to do is to adjust my stitches. So first of all, I'm putting it onto a zigzag. Now, I need to make the stitch longer, and I need to make the spacing between it shorter. So I've set that on 6.0 for the width, and for the length 0.5. Let's have a look and see how we go with that. Now it's going to be, I should have done it in a contrasting colour so you could see. I hope you can see that well enough there. Just putting it in the light a little bit better. So it's just a wide band of sewing very close together with no gaps. And I'm just going to do that all the way around the edge of the applique. Now I made sure I have got a full bobbin and I've got full thread up there because I don't want to be running out of thread and having to redo a bobbin. So even if I didn't have a full bobbin, I would get another bobbin and fill it before I started, but I do have a full bobbin. So let's put this under and get started. So I'm just using the lever which drops the needle up and down and I'm pulling that in an upward direction. To make it easier, I might even just take the foot off at the moment so that I can get that under more easily, because this is not designed to have this there we go. Okay, so once I've got that under, I can put my foot back on. There we go. Now you can start anywhere because it's going to be concealed anyway. We're going to come back right back to where we started, and I'm going to lower the needle by hand just to see where it is stitching, because I want it to be just a little bit further over than that. So I'll just lift that up and I'll just move that just very slightly. Okay, let's do that again and see where it's going now. Right, so that edge is now right in between the sewing. So we're going to keep the needle down, and we're just going to start going around that edge very slowly. Now I think that I need to have my stitches a little bit closer, so I'm just taking that down from 0.5 to 0.3. Yes, they're closer now. Now I'm going to be sewing all the way around the edge, which is going to take quite some time. So we'll come back when I've done most of that. Okay, let's remove the embroidery hoop. I have not done applique for over 20 years. I used to have lots of different size embroidery hoops, and it looks like I might have to get myself some more, because that definitely was a little bit too big. It would have been a lot easier if I had a smaller one. Now I'm just trimming the thread back from there. And turn it over and trim the threads back from the back. Now, as I said, we didn't have backing in one area, and it just made it in the other, but that's okay. This is removable, so I just need to pull that off. And we'll pull it off here. That's done, and now I'll go and give this an iron. So here we are at the ironing board. Now this is set for steam. I just want to make sure there's not going to be any drips of water, anything that's going to cause any problem to the applique that I've just spent all my time doing. There we go. And now all we need to do is to finish the garment just like making a normal t-shirt. So come along with me while we... So here we are with the garment. Just readjust that there. And here we go with the back piece. Now, as you'll always hear me saying, right sides together. I think I tell myself that because how many times did I do it wrong? And with this fabric, which is a knit fabric, it is very difficult with this one to tell the inside and the outside, but there is a definite difference. So making sure that I've got that right. Okay, so what we're going to do first is to sew the shoulder seam. So I'm just putting the raw edges together there, just lining that up. Sorry, out of view of camera. Just lining up those edges and just putting a pin in there to hold that. And then we'll do the same to the other side, just putting the raw edges of the shoulder seam together and putting a pin. Now, what I need to do is to just go and sew those, and then I'll overlock them, and then I'll be back. Okay, so we've sewn the shoulder seams together. Just got some scraps there, and we've overlocked them. Now, the next thing we need to do is to put the sleeves in place, ready for sewing. So I'll just open up that garment. So there we've got the front with the applique, and we've got the back. And what we need to do here is to take our sleeve pieces, and I've got the two of them cut there. So we'll take the pattern off. Now with this, we need to mark the center. So we'll just pop a pin in to mark the center of the sleeve. We'll do the same on the other one. And I'll just turn that over. Just looking at, yeah, that looks okay. I just wanted to have a look at the neck edge. Okay, so we've got that, and we've got our shoulder seams done there. Now, I have to be very careful because, as I said, it's difficult to tell which is the right side and wrong side. So this is the right side here. So we're putting right sides together, and we're putting the center of our sleeve onto the shoulder seam. Okay, and we can do the same with the other. Just working out again, which is, that's the right way there. The center of that with the shoulder seam. Okay, come with me while I sew the sleeves on. So here we are with a rounded sleeve top, and just double checking that I've got the right sides together, and the contours of those are different. So what we need to do is ease that as we're sewing, and so we're just putting the edges together there. That's the edge of the sleeve against the side seam, what will become the side seam of the garment. So we're just putting that there, putting it underneath. I've got it on just a straight stitch, and we'll just lock that in to begin with. So it's a few stitches forward, a few stitches back, and there we go. Now, what we need to do is to just ease that along there, making sure underneath that we're not sewing in any puckering. So we just need to make sure that that's all straight. And we just do this bit by bit. Now, there's a little bit of a difference there as we're coming up to where that's meeting. So I'm just going to stretch them so that they are the same. All right, let's move that over a little. There we go. Excellent. Right, just pop that down. We're halfway. I'll take the pin out, and we'll continue on to the other side. So again, being really careful to ensure that nothing on the underneath side under here is puckered. Just easing that around. Locking the stitch in at the end. Okay, let's trim those threads and then we'll do the other side. So we'll come back once we've done the other side. So the next step, I've put both sleeves in and I have overlocked them. The next step, as I've said before, on an adult garment you would do this a different way, but I'm going to do a little hem for the sleeves. So first of all, I'll overlock that. So that's overlocked, and now I'll just put a little hem on that sleeve. So just locking that stitch in. Now, because I'm using stretch fabric, I just stretch that a little bit as I sew. Not much, just a little bit, so that there's a little bit of stretch in the garment. And again, trimming up the threads, and we'll do the other one and then come back. Okay, we've done this hem on both sleeves. Now we're going to sew up the garment and I'm going to start at the sleeve edge. You can start at the bottom edge if you want. Just do both sides the same, that's all. So starting at the sleeve edge, just right sides together. Put my needle down so things don't move as I'm adjusting the fabric. Now we'll overlock that and we'll do the other side and we'll come back when we've done all that. Okay, so I've sewn up both side seams, overlocked them, then I overlocked the bottom and I put a little hem on that. So let's turn it the right way out and have a look. There's only one thing left to do on this, and that is the neck edge. So just turning it the right way. Okay, and there we go. So let's do the neck edge next. So here we are with our garment, and we've just lying that down and straightening that up. That needs to be pressed with the iron to make all those seams nice. Now, I'm just looking for another piece that I cut. Here we go. And this is for the neck edge. Not quite the same colour, but very, very close. So what we need to do here, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be folding that over and I'm going to be sewing that around, and because it's rib knit, that's the name of the fabric, it's rib knit. I don't know if you can see there's ribs on it, and it's very stretchy. So we make that smaller than the actual neck so that it's stretched as it's put on, and then it naturally will sit up. So what I need to do here is just to go around the edge, and that's not stretched, and then come back down here, and what I do is I'm taking that to the center back. So we're covering 3/4 of the neck edge with that. Then I need to sew that together. So I'll just come back when I've done that. So I've sewn that together now, as you can see. And just with my fingers, I'll just open that seam up and make that flat. Now, we'll just fold that in half. And I'll just put a pin in there to hold that. Now, what we need to do is to mark this in quarters. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and I'll just be putting pins in it. So we'll come back when I've done that. So I've marked it out with pins in quarters, and I've also marked this in quarters. I don't need to mark the sides because that's the shoulder seam, but I've marked the centre back and the centre front with pins. Now we're going to start at the centre back. Now this is going to go over. And raw edges together. We'll just put a pin in there. And I had another pin, that's right, take that one out. Okay. And again, just putting the raw edges together and pinning. I'm doing the centre front now. And I am sorry, my dog's barking because there's people walking past my house talking. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, that's all on the neck edge there, and now I just need to sew that. So come with me while I sew it. Well, it seems as though we've lost a little bit of footage there, and you didn't get to see me sewing that neck edge on, but here's the completed garment, and you can see that I've sewn the rib trim onto the neck, and then around there I've put an extra row of stitching to hold that seam flat. So thank you for joining me on the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it inspires you to do some applique. And please leave any comments. I'd love to hear your comments. And we hope to see you back on the next video. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day. Bye.